I... Anyway. Hello. Trial time. I may have to disappear briefly. Not done before. 3 for me. Just so you know, I'm not going to take sides. Message received, loud and clear. Good, because I don't like this one bit. You and Daddy should be on the same team. Sorry, Trucy. Oh, she's really mad. I'm sorry too, little lady. This is all my fault. I'm just worried things will never be the same between Daddy and Apollo. If they go through with this. Is that all? Well, I wouldn't worry about that. That's the way it is with us men. We may fight, but we don't burn bridges. Really? Sure. 1 minute we're trading blows, and the next, we're having drinks together. We're simple creatures at heart. I sure hope you're right. Sorry I'm late, Apollo. Athena, there you are. What happened with you and Mr. Wright yesterday? Oh, about that. I ended up going to the wrong airport. I was waiting there thinking his flight was really late, and before I knew it I dozed off. By the time I woke up, it was already dark. I figured something like that had happened. Being late and dozing off are the 2 things you do best. Guilty as charged. So then, I take it you have no idea what today's case is about? Not a clue, sorry. What is today's case about, if I might ask? Another lockroom mystery? A suspect with a flimsy alibi? Oh, or a dying message? Sorry, strike 3. You're out. It's a civil case. A civil case? You act like I'm speaking Swahili here. It's just the Wright Anything Agency specializes in criminal law, so I thought. In civil cases there are no prosecutors, right? Instead both parties retain an attorney. Right, and the other attorney is someone you know very well. Really? Who? Trial will begin shortly. Please proceed to the courtroom at once. Okay, let's do this. Oh, wait. Who's the other attorney? And where is Mr. Wright? No time to explain. Let's go. Okay, right behind you.
Court is now in session. Oh, is this some sort of practice session? A mock trial, perhaps?
No, it's not, Your Honor. It's the real deal, Your Honor.
So then you two have had a falling out. I won't have you using my courtroom for that, you know.
It's nothing like that, Your Honor. Exactly. It just so happens that we have different clients in this case.
I see. Well, here's to hoping this has no adverse effects on your working relationship.
You can say that again. I had no idea we'd be going up against the boss today. You sure this is a good idea, Apollo? What? Do you want to switch sides? Honestly, I'd rather be anywhere but here right now. At least she is here. I'm really going to need her help. Mr. Justice? Yes? Don't expect me to pull any punches just because you're the opposing lawyer. As I said, the kid gloves are off. And come what may, they'll stay off. Same here, Mr. Wright. If it's a fight you want, it's a fight you'll get. Yeesh, you guys are really chomping at the bit, aren't you?
I don't mind a good fight between co-workers. Just keep this civil case civil. Now then, if the plaintiff would take the stand, we may begin. Right, left, halt! Noble Judge, members of the gallery, good day to you. I am politician. This is but the start of my epic campaign, and you all have the honour of witnessing it. I believe the youth of this country are our very future. Too long have they been looked down on and given the cold shoulder, so to them I say, ask not what you can do for your country, ask what you can do for me. Mr. Attition, what is this crazy contraption you're riding? It's my custom-made election-winning campaign mobile. Beautiful, isn't it? You're at a witness stand, not a camping podium, so come out of there this instant. All right, now with the plaintiff's attorney, Mr. Wright. Please explain the complaint filed against the defendant.
Mr. Attition's complaint against the defendant is simple. The defendant, one Dirk Shamadi, stole my client's family heirloom, the Crystal of Ami Faye. Mr. Attition merely seeks its return. This wouldn't have happened if that archaeologist hadn't kicked the bucket. I see. Well, Mr. Justice, let's have your opening statement if you would. The defense asserts the item in question is the Founders Orb, a sacred relic from Kurain.
Go on.
It seems someone asked an archaeologist, Dr. Archie Buff, to study the orb. Dr. Buff determined that it was a Kurainese national treasure known as the Founders Orb. The very orb that was stolen from a treasure room in Kurain several weeks ago.
Why yes, I saw a news report about that. The theft of a Kurainese national treasure caused quite an uproar in the kingdom.
Well, we believe it was not in fact a theft in the traditional sense, but rather that it was spirited out of Kurain by someone for Dr. Buff to study.
You don't say. And?
Around that time, an acquaintance of the defendant learned of Dr. Buff. He made contact with the doctor, who agreed to hand over the orb. Apparently, the doctor wanted nothing to do with it once he'd learned it had been stolen.
It seems you even have a transfer agreement between both parties.
Mr. Shamadi also agreed to return the Founders Orb to the Kingdom of Kurain, once the doctor verified it was the real thing.
I see. So this dispute centers on whether the item in question is the Founders Orb or the Crystal of Ami Faye. That in turn will determine the object's rightful owner.
I'd better bring my A-game. Going up against Mr. Wright won't be a walk in the park.
Come to think of it, the name Dirk Shamadi sounds awfully familiar. But I can't recall where I've heard it.
Oh, it's probably your imagination, Your Honor. He's just a tourist, after all.
My imagination, you say?
Are you sure about this, Apollo? He's a wanted criminal in Kurain, isn't he? In Kurain? Yes. Here, he's just a tourist.
Very well. Let's begin the proceedings. Bailiff, would you bring in the first witness?
Emma? Show some manners. We're in court. I know, it's just... This is a civil trial, so I was surprised to see a detective take the stand. I had to do some digging on Dr. Buff. What for? You disappoint me, Apollo. First, you know I'm not just a detective. I'm a forensic scientist. Do try to remember that. Second, you owe Mr. Wright an apology. After all he's done for you, you have some nerve. First, I'm sorry, and second, I'm really just trying to do my job. You'll never get anywhere with that attitude. Take some advice from someone who's been there. Why do I feel like I'm on trial here?
Detective Sky, your testimony, if you please.
The police have had their eyes on Dr. Buff for some time, and just today, a number of stolen artifacts were discovered in his study. Among them were a priceless urn and a statue that was stolen from the Flay clan. Bleh. It seems the Doctor would do anything to study artifacts, including steal them. As for the relic at the centre of this dispute, he likely stole it from the Attition residence.
The Doctor is a thief? Why am I just hearing about this now?
Well, Cat Burglar isn't something he'd put on his resume. He was more careful than that. But the fact is, he was a classic treasure hunter. Treasure hunter, huh? Like people who have thrilling adventures in exotic places, risking life and limb for glory.
I doubt Dr. Buff was the star of his own hit movie series, Athena. Out of respect for the dead, I will say that Dr. Buff wasn't doing it to get rich. Apparently he only wanted to borrow artifacts to study them. He would then return them as soon as his research was finished.
According to the Doctor's child, he would even repair or restore some of the artifacts he stole before returning them. He believed he was honouring the dead by discovering their history through artifacts. But whatever lofty ideals he had, it makes no difference. Larceny is larceny.
Yes, he certainly sounds no different from a regular thief to me.
So, let's say for a moment that the Doctor really did moonlight in stealing artifacts. Might he not have stolen the Founders Orb in Terrain and brought it back here himself?
Nope. There's no record of him travelling overseas over the past few years. Plus, he couldn't very well leave his reclusive child at home alone, all alone. Then this really must be the crystal of Ami Faye.
Yes, he stole it from the Attition residence, probably so he could study it.
This is the left hook I did not need.
Bet you never saw that coming, Apollo.
Yeah, when Mr. Wright said the kid gloves were off, he wasn't kidding. Mr. Justice, you may proceed with your cross-examination.
So much time just doing it this way. Wonderful.
Hold it!
You claim you stole a family heirloom from the Attition residence, but claiming something doesn't make it true. Unfortunately, it is true.
How can you be so sure?
A police report was filed concerning the theft. 1 year ago, in fact.
What? A whole year ago?
August 25th of last year, to be exact. The report states, and I quote, "The crystal of Ami Faye was discovered to be missing. From the Attition storehouse at 10 AM, the storehouse lock had been picked." Signed, Paul Edition Wimperson.
Well, a year-old report certainly lends the plaintiff's claim credence. The doctor could really have stolen the crystal Amifei.
Not only that, Your Honour, but the Founders Orb was only found to be missing several weeks ago. That is nearly a year after the crystal's theft was reported. Therefore, I believe we must consider the orb and the crystal to be two separate items. Paul Edition Wimperson? Not the most awe-inspiring tail end, is it? I see why you cut it. Not that he inspires confidence without it. Still, I'd probably do the same in his shoes. Police report was fired about the crystal's theft a year ago. But the theft of the Founders Orb was only reported a few weeks ago. So the crystal's police report was filed way before the orb was found missing. That suggests the stolen relic is the crystal of Amifei, as Mr. Edition Wimperson asserts. I doubt the police report is a fake. After all, Emery is the one who submitted it as evidence. Still, I feel like something we learned in that police report is important somehow.
Objection!
The doctor stole the relic from the plaintiff. Are you sure? Because that statement doesn't agree with a certain piece of evidence. What do you mean? Take a look at this. What about it? This contains an email from the doctor's computer.
Email? In that little piece of plastic? I'm afraid I don't understand.
Oh, this stick here can store all sorts of computer data.
I still don't get it.
Here, just look at this. Apparently the doctor was reporting his research findings to a certain individual. Now, take a look at this. It's the police report Detective Sky presented to this court. You can see the plaintiff's legal name on it. Paul Edition Wimperson.
I can see why he dropped the Wimperson from his name, but that's hardly breaking news.
Look closer, Your Honour.
His initials.
Right. The plaintiff's full legal name is Paul Edition Wimperson. Now consider this. The email's recipient address starts with 3 letters. P-A-W. Don't tell me. Oh, but I will anyway. The individual who hired the doctor to study the disputed item is none other than Paul Edition Wimperson. Wait, then that means... Exactly. He wouldn't have asked the man who stole his family heirloom to study it. Therefore, how could this possibly be the crystal of Amifei? We never checked the doctor's emails. He couldn't even figure out the password to his computer. The plaintiff willingly left the orb in the doctor's care so we could study it, at the behest of his benefactor. Wait. Then what about the police report? I have all the details of the theft right here. It's probably for another relic, the real crystal of Amifei. He's just using the report as a way to claim that our orb is actually his stolen crystal.
Objection!
And how are you so certain that Paul refers to my client's initials? Maybe the email's recipient was a dog lover. Perhaps. So let's get to know your client a little better, shall we? Mr. Politician Wimperson.
I suppose shutting down detractors is all part of a politician's job.
Answer me this, Mr. Attition Wimperson. What is your birthday? What is your birthday?
My birthday is July 11th, but what's it to you? Oh, I see. You can address birthday gifts to my office. With full disclosure, I only accept gifts valued at $1,000 or more. Why has everyone gone silent?
How can anyone be that self-centered? Oh, right. Politician. Did everyone hear that? He said July the 11th. July 11th. Or rather, 7-11 matches the numbers in the email address. Both the name and the birthday are a match. I hardly think that's a coincidence.
Wait. Mike, you sneaky little...
Looks like someone finally decided to join the conversation. Would the plaintiff care to explain?
I would like to say that is quite...
Quite what?
Quite the thing you said.
Any other thoughts?
No further comments. I stand by my previous statement.
Hold it! Can't just walk away. Even politicians have to explain themselves in a court of law.
I'm afraid I simply don't know how it happened. I can't possibly explain matters outside of my preview.
Purview, even.
Perhaps it was a mistake on the part of my secretary?
Oh, no, you don't, you slippery eel. Mr. Wright, would you care to respond? I won't argue your assertion. My client lent the treasure in question to the doctor and asked him to study it. It seems that much is a fact. Now we're getting somewhere. However, it has no bearing on the issue of ownership. How so? Mr. Attition, I fully understand your position here. You had to hide the fact that you sent the crystal out to be studied. Your family would have been very upset if they had found out. It's a family heirloom after all. Got to be kidding me.
Mr. Wright is, well, right of course, but then he always is. That's why he's my lawyer. The crystal was a precious Attition family heirloom and has been for centuries. But Dr. Buff was so eager to study its proud heritage, I just couldn't say no. I didn't even tell my grandfather.
Objection! But in order to win the backing of your so-called benefactor, you were going to give what you claim to be the crystal of Amifay to that person. You were going to give a precious family heirloom away just like that.
I was going to explain everything to grandfather later, honest.
My client's grandfather is very proud of his grandson for following in his footsteps. And if refusing him would have meant dashing the dreams of his darling grandson, I doubt the kindly old man could have said no.
Well, grandchildren are meant to be spoiled. That's what grandfathers are for.
Your Honor, please. I mean, it's been in the family for centuries.
My grandfather thinks highly of my talents as a politician. That's why he entrusted me with this very important name placard today. So I'm sure he would have been okay with me using the crystal as I saw fit.
Grandpa's spoiled little brat. I think the judge is buying it, Apollo. No surprise there. He's always going on about his own grandchild after all. Excuse me. I can leave now, Mr. Wright. Can I leave now, Mr. Wright? I believe my work here is done. By all means, Detective Sky. Thank you for your assistance. You're welcome. It's nice to testify at a civil trial once in a while. See you around.
It seems the facts have changed somewhat. Mr. Attition Wimperson apparently lent his family heirloom to Dr. Buff. Mr. Justice, how would the defense like to proceed?
Alright. Now what? Hello, let's see what they know about this so-called crystal of Hermie. Maybe we can find some inconsistencies in their statements. Right. Okay then, Mr. Wright. If the item in question really is an Attition family heirloom, then let's hear all your client knows about it. Of course. Mr. Attition Wimperson, please tell the defense everything you know about the crystal's origin.
Alright, now then, listen and learn. This is the tale of the crystal of Hermie and the illustrious history of the Attition clan. Are you ready? Our story begins back in the old country when the Attition family reigned supreme. My ancestor was praised as a benevolent ruler. He protected the spirit mediums, a minority back then, from the rest of the locals. Some discriminated against them, you see, while others tried to abuse their power. As thanks, Hermie gave the crystal she had specially made as a gift to him. I am a descendant of that great lord. As such, my political power and influence is backed by centuries of history.
Well, that developed into a great load of self-aggrandizing propaganda fast. As you can see, the crystal of Hermie is an heirloom of the esteemed House of Attition. And you have proof that it has always been in the Attition family? I have someone who gave a statement to that effect. My client's neighbour. One Lev Shinto, age 85, gave the following statement. The Attition showed me the crystal back when I was but a lad.
Objection!
Can we really trust the memory of an old man? Mr. Justice, would you care to explain that statement to the judge? Oh, I didn't mean... What I'm trying to say is,
Never underestimate the memory of your elders. I may forget my verdicts the next day, but the memories of my past are clear as day. Therefore, I find Mr. Live Shinto's statement to be perfectly credible.
Wow, did you see how Mr. Wright got the judge on his side? That's definitely a trick I want up my sleeve. You're not helping, Athena.
You may cross-examine the witness, Mr. Justice.
Objection!
You state that Amife had the crystal made for your ancestor. So, am I to assume it was made in Japan?
That's right. The craftsmanship is unbeatable.
Well, that's strange. I don't see how your so-called crystal could have been made there.
What are you talking about?
It's quite obvious if you take a closer look at this. Is it that bit?
Take that!
Take a look at the distinctive design here. According to Dr. Buff, it's a Mitama motif, dating back to the early days of the Kingdom of Karain.
The Kingdom of Karain, And you base this on...
Here, this piece of evidence, Your Honour. These are the Doctor's research notes on the Founders Orb. This is the box in which the orb was originally stored. It features the same pattern as the one found on the orb.
They do look the same. Do look like the same pattern.
Therefore, I assert that the disputed item must have been made in the Kingdom of Karain.
My placard!
Objection!
The Karain channeling technique originated in the Kingdom of Karain, and Amife is known to have travelled there to train. With that in mind, what's to say she didn't bring that pattern back with her?
Objection!
But since this is clearly a Kuranese design, not even you can deny the possibility that it was made there, in the Kingdom of Karain.
Objection!
Anything's possible to some extent. That doesn't make it true. So you can't concede that the orb is from Karain based solely on that pattern. If it were that simple, I could just as easily say it's Japanese.
I have to agree with Mr. Wright. The pattern alone proves nothing. But that also means there's no basis to claim the item in dispute was made in Japan either. At this rate, we're going nowhere fast.
He's right, we're just spinning our wheels here. I wonder if we have any evidence that could break this stalemate. Evidence that can break this stalemate. Nope. There doesn't seem to be anything we can use. At least not at this point. Well, unless we can find something, this trial won't be going anywhere.
Oh, that's much better.
What's his deal? I have a suggestion. Why don't we consider this from a different angle? I'm listening. What if the Defiant Dragons really were authorized to take possession of the relic?
I'm afraid I don't know where you're going with this, Mr. Wright.
Consider the orb transfer agreement, which states, I agree to hand over the Founders Orb to the Defiant Dragons if I will come to no harm. What if, as the last part suggests, this was written under duress? That would render the agreement null and void. What are you suggesting, Mr. Wright? While you were on your little cave expedition, I was investigating Dr. Buff's accident. And there was something you overlooked, Mr. Justice. Namely, that his accident might have actually been murder.
What? Murder? Mr. Wright, you do realize such statements are not to be made lightly. Are you suggesting the Doctor was murdered by the Defiant Dragons?
Yes, but follow me on this for a second. The books that came tumbling down were from the archaeology shelf. However, among that mountain of books was a single volume on psychology. What's more, there was some blood on it. Do you feel this is important because the books that came tumbling down were from the top shelf, the archaeology books? We know this because the Doctor's books were meticulously organised by subject. Archaeology took up the entire shelf, so that psychology book is completely out of place. Come to think of it, the shelves were arranged quite carefully. It's also worth noting that psychology books only take up a tiny part of the bottom shelf. You might wonder why a book on psychology was found amid the pile of archaeology books. But I believe I can explain what that single out-of-place book was doing there. The Doctor was struck from behind while selecting a psychology book from the shelf. And that's when the blood got on the book? Precisely. And to make it look like an accident, he was buried under a mountain of archaeology books.
Objection!
Wait a second. This is all just speculation, right? Or do you have proof that it was murder? Of course I do.
You do?
On a hunch, I had Detective Skye examine the Doctor's head wound. She found that he'd been struck by the corner of some object or another.
Wait, what?
A wound like that couldn't have resulted from a fall to the floor, you know. Do you understand what this means, Mr. Justice? The wound makes it crystal clear that Dr. Buff was murdered.
What?
Well, that was unexpected. Who'd have thought we'd break out the stalemate like this? He pulled the ladder right out from under us. Still, if he thinks that's enough to make me back down, he's got another thing coming. Even if the cause of death was murder, what makes you think it was the Defiant Dragons? You should know better than to hold baseless accusations.
Objection!
Did you forget who you were up against, Mr. Justice? Huh? You didn't actually think I'd come to court without witnesses and evidence, did you? What are you talking about? I would like to request further testimony from the plaintiff. Specifically, I would like the court to hear how he saw one of the rebels leaving the crime scene.
He saw what?
If you can prove it was murder, that's the end of our client's right to the orb. Do you have this up his sleeve the whole time? How could Mr. Wright do this to us? He was just waiting to spring this trap.
This trial has taken another unexpected turn. But I must mention, Mr. Wright, that you have yet to identify the murder weapon.
The object used to commit the murder was not located at the scene of the crime. The murderer likely disposed of it elsewhere.
Well, I never thought we'd be deliberating the issue of a murder at a civil trial. All right, Mr. Attention Wimberson, your testimony, if you please. Prepare to be dazzled. Dazzled by charismatic oration forged in the crucible of campaign battles. That evening I was walking alone, lost in thought. I passed by the doctor's house, and that's when I saw Mr. Arable. He was running up the front door. It was around 10 at night. Surely that must have been him fleeing the scene of the crime. A vote for me is a vote to end such violence. That is my promise to you. So, the plaintiff saw a possible suspect fleeing from the doctor's residence, and it was within the window of the estimated time of death.
That's horrible. What in the world were you doing there then? Seems Mr. Arable was loitering about Coraine Village that day. There's evidence that he was in the doctor's study as well. Isn't that right, Mr. Justice? You mean the suitcase? Exactly. He must have been in quite the rush to leave that behind. Oh, and by the way, Your Honour, Mr. Arable just so happens to be sitting in the gallery today.
Yuck.
See, that's him trying to escape as we speak.
Bailiff, don't let that man get away.
Right, you backstabber! What are you doing this to me?
All right. The counsel/defense may question the plaintiff/witness once more. Please proceed, Mr. Justice.
Hold it!
Where exactly were you when you saw Mr. Arable?
Right here, under this tree. I saw him dashing out of Dr. Buff's front door.
And he didn't notice you?
No, I was hidden by the tree. Is it really all that important to know from where the plaintiff saw Mr. Arable?
Yep. Yes, I believe it matters a lot. I ask that it please be added to the witness's testimony.
Hold it!
Did you notice anything unusual?
Yes, his behavior was incredibly suspicious. His eyes were darting all around as he ran off in a total panic. As soon as I saw that, I knew he had done something, and it probably wasn't good.
Despite that, you still didn't report it to the police.
Who would have thought he had killed Dr. Buff? Not me, that's why I didn't report it. So the witness didn't notify the police. Is that an important statement, Mr. Justice?
Yep. Yes, it's important. I request that the witness add it to his testimony.
Sure, why not?
Objection!
Mr. Attition Wimperson, rather than Mr. Arable, wasn't there something else that should have had your undivided attention?
Like what? Oh, yes, of course. A politician must also keep his finger on the electorate's pulse and focus.
Sorry, you're way off.
I am? Would you care to explain, Mr. Justice?
if the witness saw Mr. Arable from his position here, then he should have also been able to see the doctor's body. After all, it was right next to a huge window.
Why, I believe you have a point there.
With the body that clearly visible to the witness, it's unthinkable that he wouldn't have reported it to the police. Ah.
Would the witness care to respond?
Did he fall asleep?
Mr. Attition Wimperson? Mr. Attition Wimperson!
Huh? Oh, there are many sides to an issue.
What did I ever do to deserve this? In any case, I'd like the court to acknowledge the inconsistency in the witness's testimony. Mr. Attition Wimperson, did you really see Mr. Arable?
Yes.
Hold it!
Where do you think you're going?
Oh, I thought I'd return to my seat, seeing as I had already answered your question.
There's some small town hall debate, so you can just stay right there until I say we're through.
I'll have to run that by my campaign manager before I...
Objection!
Mr. Attition Wimperson, I think it's time for you to come clean.
Huh?
So then, does this mean you didn't see Mr. Arable? As your lawyer, Mr. Attition Wimperson, I advise you to divulge that matter we discussed. Silence is no longer an option.
Are you sure about this? I'm in the midst of running for office. I can't afford to let any strange rumors get out.
Don't worry, you won't suffer any blowback for what you are about to reveal.
Blowback? I'm not sure I like the sound of that, Mr. Wright.
Not to worry, Your Honour. Nothing untoward will come of this, I promise. Now then, Mr. Justice. Remember how it was an anonymous caller that reported the doctor's death? Come to think of it... Emma, who was the first one to discover the body? About that, whoever it was, it seems they wanted to remain anonymous. What? It happens now and then. Some people would rather not get involved with the police. Wait, you're not saying that... Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. The anonymous source who contacted the police after discovering the body was... my client, Mr. Paul Attition Wimperson.
What? You don't say.
So you see, he played his part as a concerned citizen, quite admirably if I may say so. Isn't that right?
Yes, indeed. In our society today, there are too many who chose indifference over righteous action. But I don't number among them. That's why I did my duty as a concerned citizen. One might call me the moral citizen, one worthy of standing above the rest.
What a real standing bearer he is, reporting it anonymously. Oh, and by the way, Mr. Justice, wasn't there someone else at the scene of the crime when my client's body was discovered? When my client discovered the body? Oh, you mean Mr. Arable? He would have been leaving the doctor's house right around then. Wait, that means... Yes, it does. In short,
What my client witnessed was Mr. Arable fleeing the scene of a heinous murder. And that's not all. Based on what we've heard so far, Mr. Arable looked exceedingly suspicious, and that's putting it mildly. You already know the Defiant Dragons threatened the Doctor with bodily harm. And now that they've killed him, the so-called Orb Transferal Agreement is null and void. Ah!
Apollo, if we don't come up with some sort of counter-argument...
What sort of evidence do you have?
Can you actually prove that it was Mr. Arable who killed the Doctor? Not even desperate written all over it.
That's all I've got, so I'm going with it. Evidence? I suppose it's true that I don't have any.
I knew it.
But I do have another witness.
You do?
You should know I always come fully prepared, Mr. Justice. And my new witness will provide testimony proving Mr. Arable's guilt.
New witness? I wonder who it could be.
Very well, bailiff. Please summon our new witness. In the meantime, the court will take a brief recess. I would like both sides to use this time to prepare properly, understood?
Wow. I knew Mr. Wright would put up a tough fight, but... Yeah, just when I thought we had him, he turned the tables on us. He really is the tad about terror.
We can't let him blindside us again.
Well, it looks like they got me again. 3 times in 1 year. That's a new record.
That's, please, no more records. Bad puns while you're at it. Hard enough trying to help you as it is.
Yeah, roger that. I'll be more careful next time.
That's, is what Mr. Wright said true? Did you really pay a visit to Dr. Buff that night?
Yeah, he sure did. Can't remember the exact time though. All I know is he wouldn't hand over the orb. Someone put it in his head that we rebels were dangerous. That's why he threw me out.
So, the Doctor was still alive when Dats last saw him?
We'll still have to prove it, though.
Better brace yourself, son. The next witness's testimony could make or break this case.
Yeah, I know. Hey, where's Trucy? She went to go see her dad.
Maybe she's still mad.
More like worried. Worried that this trial will create a rift between you two. That she might then leave the agency.
She has an active imagination.
Excuse me, the trial will be resuming shortly.
Well, let's go see what new testimony awaits us.
All right, court is back in session. Mr. Wright, you said you had a witness?
Your Honour, I would like to call the lone survivor of the Doctor's murder to the stand.
Wait, you can't mean that Sarge is here?
You mean Dr. Buff's reclusive son? How did you get him to cooperate? Nothing a little persuasion couldn't handle. The poor child only agreed to help if it meant catching the killer.
Getting a kid like that to overcome his fear, that's impressive. Must be really important testimony for the kid to come out in public like this.
Very well. Mr. Wright, please call your witness to the stand. Oh my. Dodge him, Pop. At your service, sir.
He's here as the drone, really?
Mr. Wright, what exactly is the meaning of this?
Past traumas rendered it impossible for the witness to venture into public. Leaving home was hard enough, and it seems leaving the witness lobby was just too much. But I'd still like to continue with testimony delivered via this drone.
I understand it must be terrible to lose one's father like that. But testimony via a remote-controlled toy? Well, let's take things for a spin and see how it goes.
Just who's piloting this trial anyway? The judge sure warmed up to the idea fast. I think the phrase you're looking for is gave up.
You disappoint me, Corporal.
Why didn't you fucking do that as auto text?
Ugh! Defending the man who killed Papa? That's full-on treason, soldier! I hereby demote you back to private.
Corporal? Private? What's he talking about, Apollo?
It's a long story. Now then, are you ready to testify, youngster?
Locked and loaded, sir. Ready to rain lead down upon the perpetrator. Still giving the sergeant voice. Papa met with someone that night. The night you died. I didn't have eyes on the ground as I'd already mounted my siege defense, but yeah. I did hear him arguing with someone in his study. From my window, I saw the one designated Dats getting ejected from the premises. After that, the man lingered around the perimeter for some time. He must have had regrouped and killed my papa in the study later. I just know it.
So he was thrown out but later returned and committed the murder, did he?
Yes, Your Honour. So the man my client saw really must have been the fleeing Mr. Arable.
Objection! Right, you backstabbing no good. I didn't kill no one.
It's the enemy! Rally all missiles and fire!
Whoa!
Capitalist pig! I'll turn you into pork stroganoff there. And that's just a taste of my ultimate anti-swine weapon. Whoa, fires missiles too?
Yes, well, the witness is all yours, Mr. Justice.
Objection!
Sarge, are you hiding something from me?
How dare you question your superior officer like that? You want to get in on this stroganoff action with Pig Boy over there, soldier?
Sorry, but I'm afraid lawyers are missile-proof.
What? Would the defense care to explain?
It's simple, Your Honour. Just as he is able to see what is happening in court right now, Sarge was able to see what was happening in the study then. With his cherished drone, of course.
Ah, now that you mention it. And to think the answer was right before our eyes this whole time.
Sarge, you were perfectly capable of patrolling the study that night. So you must have seen something. Ugh! My head. What is this strange new weaponry you're using against me? Courtroom warriors don't use guns or missiles because evidence is our weapon of choice. And the evidence here has exposed your bold-faced lie. My truth bomb, Sarge, has stripped your defences bare. Truth bomb? No! Ah! Mayday, mayday! I'm going down!
Oh my, are you alright?
Evidence. Never have I seen such fearsome ordnance. Tell it to us straight, Sarge. After all, you want to help your father, don't you? Papa. Yes, you want to find out who killed him, don't you? So please, tell us what you saw that night. There. I'm just basically dropping the Sarge voice. It's not what you think. I didn't see anything. I swear. You sure? You seem awfully stressed for someone who didn't see anything. Ugh. Sarge, you need to answer my question. Shut your pie hole, maggot! It'll be a scorching day in Siberia before a lowly private like you orders me around. What's with him in Siberia and all places? But if a scorching day is what it'll take, then maybe it's time to turn up the heat. Hey, Athena? You think a therapy session might help? Well, it could help alleviate some of his anxiety. Plus, I'm picking up a lot of discord in Sarge's voice. That usually means the patient wants to say something but can't for some reason. And in Sarge's case, I imagine whatever's plaguing him is pretty severe. In that case, I'll leave it to you and your mood matrix magic. You got it. Your Honor, I believe I can be of help here.
Time for a therapy session, is it, Miss Sykes?
Yes, it will help the witness with his anxiety. Maybe even enough to testify.
Then by all means, please bring the poor child out into the light of day. Oh, but I assume this will be alright with you, Mr. Wright?
Why not? It's not like we all haven't been through this before. What are you butting in for, lady? There ain't no place on this battlefield for you. I beg to differ, Sarge. Miss G.I. Jane's always ready for a fight in the courtroom. And wait until you see what I've got in my arsenal. Analytical psychology. With it, I'm going to blow a big ol' hole in the armor you built around your heart. Ugh. First evidence, now analytical psychology. What are these WMDs? Where are these WMDs coming from? Well, if it's a battle you want, bring it on! You may have started this war, but I'm going to end it. Corpsewoman Sykes. You got it, Sarge. Time to seek out the agony buried deep in your heart. Brace yourself. I stayed in my room with my drone that evening. I heard Dats and Papa arguing with each other. Dats got kicked out, but I saw him still hanging around outside. I was in my room, So I didn't know Papa was dead until the next day. So I'm looking for unexpected emotions and unnatural reactions, right? Right. Emotions and reactions that don't fit the context of his testimony. Anytime, make sure you point it out to me. Also, remember not to view his emotional reactions in isolation. Sometimes it's important to see how they change from one statement to the next. Okay, I'll give it a try.
Got it!
That's strange. You reacted with shock when you discovered your father's body, yet you weren't nearly as shocked then as when you saw Mr. Arable. Normally you'd expect the death of one's father to be much more impactful. Enemy fire! Direct hit! That is strange. I wonder what it could mean. Well, we know he wasn't as affected by his father's death as he should have been. And I think I know why. Oh? Sarge, you weren't as shocked at seeing your father's body as seeing Mr. Arable because... Sarge? Maybe the truth is you left your room that night. And that's when you saw it. Your father's body. I saw no such thing! Really? You didn't see his body? Alright then. What did you see? Look, Apollo. We've lost the noise. So, just as I suspected, you really did see something. Sarge, please, tell us what you saw. Oh, but... The moment I saw it, I couldn't bear it. I couldn't stand to lose another loved one. Huh? Am I missing something here? Is that why you weren't very shocked when you found out your father was dead? Because you had already sensed that he was a goner somehow? Maybe. Please, Sarge, what was it that you saw on the night your father was murdered? I saw... What's happening? I don't like where this is going. No more, please! Eek. Help. You've confiscated your little toy. The battlefield has no place for unauthorized equipment. Widget! Although, I can't continue the session without him.
Calm yourself this instant, witness. I hereby order you to submit to your therapy session. What in blazes?
Look at me. I'm judge, jury, and executioner now. I hereby convene a military tribunal. Ooh, what the heck was that? Whoa, this has gone way too far.
Bailiff, arrest that drone this instant.
Ah! Stop resisting! Ah! If you don't come quite... Fire! Ah! Give Widget back! Finally got him back.
Nice work.
This witness is truly a handful.
2, 3, 4.
Miss Sykes, what's the witness's current psychological state?
Let's see. He's emotionally all over the map.
So his out of control emotions are in control of him, huh? Does that mean we can calm him down if we can figure out the root cause?
Yes, so let's see what we can find. Sarge, can you hear me? Oh, is that you, Corpsewoman Sykes? I'm here. Now, I want you to take a few deep breaths. Just try to relax. Try it with me. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. In, out, in, out. And now? Let your emotions take you where they will. Go on, just let it all out. Ah! All forces attack!
It's the least relaxing breathing exercise I've ever seen.
Got it!
That's it! Sarge? You were overcome with shock and fear when you saw those flames, weren't you?
Was I?
Yes, just 6 months ago. You and your mother were caught up in an arsonist blaze. So it's no wonder you would be extremely scared of fire.
Yes, that does make sense. And maybe, just maybe, your subconscious fear of fire was what caused you to withdraw from the world. What do you mean, Corpsewoman Sykes? In the outside world, you are bound to come across all sorts of fire. Candles, cigarettes, heck, even the grill at a dinner. Even if it's not that often, just the idea that you might see them grew bigger and bigger until you couldn't shut it out. I think you might be onto something. Candles, cigarettes, just thinking about them sends a chill down my spine.
Wow, the things I take for granted.
Now I see. I was afraid of the fire. Strange, I didn't even realize it myself.
About that fire, Sarge, can you tell me what it was burning?
Just stay calm and maybe something will come to you. Oh, Oh! I'm starting to remember. It was... It was that relic. That relic Papa was studying. It was on fire.
The orb was on fire?
Mm-hmm. It's still kind of fuzzy. But yes, the orb was burning right in front of Papa. And there, in the flames was Mama. Yeah, now I remember. I saw Mama appear amid the dancing flames. Wait, What? What's going on here?
Maybe it's a memory from the fire that killed his mother. He might be confusing it with what really happened when his father died.
So let me guess. More therapy?
Yep. But this time it seems there's an inconsistency in his statements. And I think we should be able to prove it with the evidence at hand.
I hope this inconsistency is the key to proving that the relic really is the Founders Orb.
Objection!
Don't blame yourself, Sarge. After all, even if you hadn't passed out, the outcome would have been the same.
What do you mean?
I'm talking about the time of death. Your father wasn't killed right after you left your room.
What? Explain yourself at once, Private Justice.
You said you saw your father burning the orb, right? But that night, he went out to hide it in a cave. So what you saw, Sarge, was something that happened before your father left to hide the orb. So you see, you didn't pass out right before he was killed. You passed out right before he left for the cave to hide the orb in the ruins within.
So, even if I hadn't passed out?
That's right. The outcome would have been exactly the same. That's because your father, Dr. Buff, was killed after he returned from the ruins. And therefore, Sarge, there's no need for you to blame yourself.
Oh, I see. Private Justice? Can you really say I bear no blame in this?
Why do you ask?
Because the truth is, if I hadn't engaged in my siege defense, Papa would still be alive.
Sarge.
Papa wished nothing more than for me to lead a happy, healthy life. That's why he quit his job and moved us out, away from the big city. And even then, I didn't have the courage to step foot into the outside world. In the end, I failed to make Papa's wish come true.
Sarge?
Sarge, if you want to make your father's wish come true, that's what you really want. And who's to say it's too late? Why don't you take the first step now? My first step? That's right. You can cast off all of your regret. You can stop standing still and start moving forward. You have the power within you. I know from experience. I know what it's like to feel like you do. But only you can decide to take that first step.
You don't change your tactics now, Sarge. The victory you seek in the war you're waging will always lie beyond your grasp.
I think I understand now. I've made up my mind. As of this moment, I will suspend my siege defense indefinitely.
Huh?
Sergeant Buff, reporting for duty.
What? I thought you were a guy.
You're definitely not the gruff drill sergeant I envisioned. Well, my mama was in the Russian army.
I was just as shocked, but it certainly explained a few things when I found out too. May I introduce you to Miss Army Buff, age 12. No way.
Careful, soldier. Don't forget I could blow you away at a moment's notice. She's just too cute.
So, have you always been in a wheelchair, Sarge?
Negative. Only since I was injured in the fire.
Mum, your voice sounds awfully different from before.
My drone features a voice modulation device. It's just one of my army's many technological marvels.
Well, you fooled me. I thought some 20-something military fanatic was at the controls.
It's all the same to you, troops. I'd like to continue my testimony. I've just remembered something, and it's as crisp and clear as a trumpet and a roll call.
What did you remember?
It wasn't my mother who appeared in the burning orb. It was some lady Papa had shown me a picture of a long time ago. He said it was the Holy Mother, the founder of Curianism. She appeared right there, right in the burning orb.
Huh? What did you just say?
The Holy Mother of Curianism was in the burning orb? What does that even mean?
I have a bad feeling about this. Could it be... Does it explain what Sarge means by the Holy Mother appearing in the burning orb?
Take that!
Dr. Buff's research notes? What do they have to do with this?
Look at this. The burning orb, the appearance of the founder, this part points to both. Straight on. There's a legend about the orb, involving a mysterious riddle. And this song in turn is said to contain the key to solving it. The legend is true, then I believe the answer lies in this part of the song. Offer thy prayers as fervent as fire, only then shall the Holy Mother return. Well, anyone see where I'm going with this? Prayers as fervent as fire. Ah! You're supposed to set the orb on fire? The whole stanza seems to suggest that the founder will appear if the orb is set on fire.
Wait, so the doctor, he...
Yes, Athena. He had solved the ancient riddle of the Founders Orb.
Oh my!
Papa was a great archaeologist. So I believe in him, and I want to believe. I want to believe he achieved his lifetime dream of solving that riddle before he died.
Well, we won't know for sure until we try it for ourselves.
Yes, do it, Private Justice, please. I want to see what Papa was searching for with my own eyes.
Objection!
The plaintiff must object to this.
Objection!
The plaintiff will stand down and be quiet.
Objection!
You don't have the right to set a precious relic like that on fire.
Objection!
Oh, but I do. All I needed was Sarge's permission. Since we still don't know if this treasure is the Founders Orb or the Crystal of Ami Fae, any ownership rights the Doctor had now belong to his daughter. Therefore, you have absolutely no right to stop us.
Very well. Mr. Justice, I never thought I'd be saying this, but you may burn the evidence.
Alright, here we go. Look,
Oh, the inside of the orb. It's melting.
there's something in there. Ah! Look, isn't she? Her garb leaves no room for doubt. It's the Founder herself. Face and all. I don't understand. Greatest of taboos in Curanism is the depiction of the Founder's face. Yet here it is, hidden within this orb. Sorry, Mr. Wright, but as you can see, the issue is crystal clear. This figure is the Holy Mother, founder of Curanism. And based on that, this must be none other than the Founders Orb.
Objection!
Be that as it may, Mr. Arable still may have killed the Doctor. If so, it would render the orb transfer agreement null and void. Don't play dumb, Mr. Wright. The truth of the matter has already been proven. Dr. Buff wasn't killed right after Sarge saw Mr. Arable. It happened after the Doctor came back from hiding the orb. And you've no proof that Mr. Arable was still around at that time. Your claim that the Defiant Dragons were behind the crime doesn't hold water. And that means the orb transfer agreement is still perfectly valid. Admit it, Mr. Wright. I just burned your whole case to the ground.
No!
I won. Actually won.
Mr. Wright, would you care to respond?
Respond? I didn't think so.
Wait, did we just win? Did we actually beat the Turnabout Terror? You're amazing, Apollo.
Don't just stand there, Wright. Do something.
Well, I don't think there's any digging out of this hole. Mr. Etition Wimperson, I think it's time for your concession speech. I've proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is the Founders Orb. The facts don't lie, but you obviously do. How's that for a campaign slogan?
What are you, contemptuous peasant?
I think this is a good time to wrap up this trial. If both parties have no further objections, I will render my verdict.
No objections here, Your Honour.
No. You can't do this. The crystal is mine. I'll lose the election if I lose that crystal. I'm sorry, but there's really nothing more I can do. You haven't forgotten about our little chat, have you? What's going on here?
Objection!
Your Honor, I object to the defense's last claim. What? I don't believe they have truly proven that the relic is indeed the Founders Orb.
Objection!
Mr. Wright, I don't think even you could bluff your way out of this one. What possible argument could you have to claim that this isn't the Founders Orb? About that. Oh, of course. You can't possibly have hit on something. The defense's assertion is incomplete, and this is why. The defense is basing their claim that this relic is the Founders Orb on a legend, and that legend claims that the Founder will return when the riddle is solved at last. Right, and that's what happened. The Founder was revealed for all to see. But Mr. Justice, what about the rest of the legend? Huh? According to the legend, once the Founder returned, he would bestow spiritual power onto the person who solved the riddle. You're kidding, right? Well, Mr. Justice, do you feel great spiritual power coursing through your veins? No. But receiving spiritual powers and stuff, it's all just mystic mumbo-jumbo, right? Maybe so, but you're the one basing your claim on said legend. And what we saw here does not fully fulfill it, does it? No, but... Consequently, you cannot rightfully claim that this is the Founder's Orb. What's gone into him? Where's Mr. Wright doing this?
It would appear that Mr. Wright has lost a few of his marbles.
That couldn't be further from the truth, Your Honor.
In any case, I believe this is a good time for a recess. Both sides will have 20 minutes to prepare. I ask that all arguments be ready by then. Oh, and Mr. Wright, you do well to wash up and find your missing marbles by then, too.
Mr. Wright is sure acting funny. I mean, he's famous for going out on a limb, but that last assertion was just plain crazy.
It's either a bluff or a Hail Mary. Either way, it doesn't make much sense.
Maybe there's something we're missing here. Although, he seemed perfectly normal when we spoke earlier. Hello, I have a bad feeling about this. I'm going to go check up on him.
What's going on with you, Mr. Wright?
Hey, Private Justice.
Oh, Sarge.
I forgot to mention something. On the night of Papa's murder, a strange thing happened.
Oh, but why are you only telling me about it now?
Well, I didn't say anything before because I thought Papa's death was an accident. But now that we know otherwise, I figured it might be important.
Still more to this case?
When I left my room and lost consciousness, I passed out right here.
That's right above the coffee bar.
Mhm. But when I came to, someone was pushing my wheelchair.
What?
I was so scared, I beat a hasty retreat as fast as my wheels could take me.
Do you know who it was?
No, it was pitch black. Plus, I fled to my room so fast, I didn't even have a chance to turn on the lights.
Maybe it was your father.
No, he would have said something to me. Besides, I'd have known if it was him.
So then it could have been your father's real killer.
My thoughts exactly.
But you didn't report this to the police?
It didn't even occur to me.
It's okay. You're obviously still upset, so don't beat yourself up over it. Apollo, this could be really important information. I think the act of pushing Sarge's wheelchair could be part of some bigger scheme. It's hard to see why else the killer would have done such a thing. Guess I should take her statement down as evidence. Oh, welcome back, Athena. What's with the long face? How'd it go with Mr. Wright?
What should I...
Athena?
Sorry, zone out there for a sec. The recess is almost over, so let's go.
What was that all about?
All right, court is once again back in session. Now, Mr. Wright, about that last objection you raised.
We, the plaintiffs, still believe that the defense has yet to sufficiently prove its case. They claim that according to the legend, the Founders Orb would bestow spiritual power, yet the relic in question has failed to do so, and therefore it has failed its own test.
I see.
Sticking with that ridiculous argument. Furthermore, even if it is the Founders Orb, it can't be awarded to the Defiant Dragons. After all, they were the ones who killed Dr. Buff.
Objection!
What are you talking about? That was already proven to be false. There are no grounds for asserting that the Defiant Dragons murdered the Doctor. Oh, but I'm afraid there are, Mr. Justice. Your Honour, I would like to present new testimony to this court. Testimony that will show That's Arable did in fact kill Dr. Buff. What?
Very well, you may call your witness.
I guess Mr. Wright found another new angle.
What new testimony could there be this late in the game?
Fellow citizens, it is I, Paul Letition, the once and future representative of the people.
Jeez, not him again. My client divulged new information to me during the recess. He remembered something he saw, you see. Something crucial to this case. How very convenient.
It was around 11 at night, and I was out on a mobile meet and greet around the village. That's when I saw Dr. Buff being murdered from outside his study window. Mr. Arable snuck up behind and struck him on the head. His weapon of choice? A suitcase. A big, strong man like him could easily swing a heavy suitcase into someone's head.
You saw the murder as it happened? And you're just telling us now because...
I saved the best for last. It's a tactic known to all the political greats.
The murder weapon was a complete mystery. But my client's eyewitness account has finally brought it into light. Into the light.
According to the autopsy report, Dr. Buff was struck in the head by the corner of some object. I suppose that could very well be the corner of a suitcase.
Objection!
But eyewitness testimony isn't the same as hard evidence. Oh, I wouldn't worry about that if I were you. What's that supposed to mean? We have physical evidence too. The luminol test revealed. The doctor's blood on Mr. Arabelle's suitcase. Really? How does that prove Mr. Arabelle used it as a weapon?
Objection!
You should know the answer to that, Mr. Justice. Since you know as well as I that the suitcase is covered in his fingerprints. Ugh! I forgot we tested it right in front of Emma. Turnabout terror strikes again.
This is quite convincing testimony and evidence. Nevertheless, you may proceed with your cross-examination, Mr. Justice.
Hold it!
He snuck up from behind. So you're saying the doctor never even realised Mr. Arabelle was there?
That's right. He was utterly absorbed in a book.
I see. What did you see Mr. Arabelle do next?
He climbed up the bookshelf ladder and dumped a bunch of books down on the body. I believe he was trying to make it look like an accident. But that idiot didn't realise I could see everything from outside the window.
One of those statements doesn't feel right. Your Honour, I believe the witness made an important statement just now. About how... the doctor was reading a book. The doctor was reading a book at the time of the murder. That's vital testimony.
Very well. The witness will please add that statement to his testimony. The doctor was standing in front of the bookshelf, absorbed in a book.
Objection!
The doctor was standing in front of the bookshelf, absorbed in a book, you say? I'm sorry, but it seems your testimony is completely unreliable.
That's quite a bold statement. Well, let's hear you back it up. I challenge you to prove that I am anything but 100% reliable.
It'll be my pleasure. Lately, it seems the doctor's eyes have gotten so bad he needed reading glasses. However, his reading glasses were over on his desk. So you see, there's no way he could have been reading in front of the bookshelves. I'm sorry, Mr. Etienne Wimperson, but I'm going to have to ask you to explain this discrepancy to the voting public. You what?
I'll explain it, you lowly cur. I simply made a mistake, you see. The doctor was actually sitting in his desk when Mr. Arabelle hit him over the head.
Then the doctor would have been facing him. Surely he would have seen him and tried to run.
Dr. Bluff was nodding off. I could tell because his eyes were closed and he wasn't moving.
Sounds more like what you would do. Then how do you explain the fact that he was struck in the back of the head? Isn't that something that should be impossible from the front of the desk?
Oh, about that. He bowed his head when he nodded off. That's when he was clobbered.
So that's what you saw. Well, Mr. Justice, that sounds like a perfectly reasonable explanation to me. Do you have a problem with the proposal that the doctor was struck while nodding off?
Yep. There is a problem. A very big problem. Witness's statement just doesn't hold up under the slightest bit of scrutiny.
Is that so? Then would you please show this court what evidence you have to justify this?
Gladly, Your Honor. This shows the problem with the witness's claim that he saw the doctor nodding off.
Take that!
A diagram of the study?
Mr. Attition Wimperson allegedly viewed the murder from here. And the doctor was allegedly nodding off here. But from his vantage point, the bookcase would have blocked the witness's line of sight.
Why, yes, I believe you're right. But
Objection!
The fact remains my client knew that the suitcase was the murder weapon. So he definitely has first-hand knowledge of the crime scene. I'm afraid I have to agree with you there, Mr. Wright. But then we have to ask ourselves, from what vantage point did he see the murder? What are you insinuating, Mr. Justice? From what vantage point could Mr. Attition Wimperson have seen the dozing doctor? Once we determine that, I believe we'll finally see the truth behind this incident. Witness saw the murder from right here.
Take that!
You've got to be kidding.
But that's...
It is indeed, but everything only makes sense if the witness was there in the study. Inside the study? But that's the scene of the crime. I know. Mr. Attition Wimperson, the man who claims to be a witness to the murder, was most certainly in that very room. Apollo, are you suggesting... Mr. Attition Wimperson, weren't you the one who actually swung that suitcase?
Objection!
What you're proposing is ludicrous. My client is a small, thin man, whereas Mr. Arabelle has the musculature to pull it off. He has a point. I gave up trying to lift that thing after one go.
That's right. He's the only one who could have lifted such a heavy object. Now do you understand? The rebel that's Arabelle is the doctor's car.
As long as the suitcase is the murder weapon, the suspicion falls entirely on Darts. That's... You'll have to poke a hole in Mr. Wright's argument somehow, Apollo.
Oh, I will. With his own technique, no less. If Mr. Attition Wimperson couldn't swing the suitcase around, we'll just have to consider another way he could have used it as a murder weapon instead. I'm going to turn this case on its head, Mr. Wright, just like you taught me. You talk big, Mr. Justice, but do you have what it takes?
Well, this should be interesting.
Mr. Attition Wimperson's testimony has been filled with one inaccuracy after another. First he stated that Dr. Buff was in front of the bookshelves. Now he claims that the doctor was sitting at his desk. So where was So where was the victim really when he was killed? Also, where was his killer? And how was the murder weapon really used?
So the important thing here is the position of the victim and the killer relative to each other.
Yes, Your Honor. If they were positioned in a certain way, it would be possible to use the suitcase as a murder weapon without lifting a finger. You can't mean. I would ask the court to recall the study's layout. It's quite distinctive, as you can see. Now, if Dr. Buff was sitting in a certain spot, and his killer were at a certain other spot, the suitcase would become a weapon anyone could use.
Very well, Mr. Justice. Where was Dr. Buff's killer at the time of the crime?
Take that!
There?
Oh, that's... This should wrap things up nice and pretty for you, Mr. Wright. I will ask the court to recall the study's layout. But this time, instead of thinking in 2 dimensions, let's think in 3. Only then can we clearly see the killer's method at work. The killer didn't have to swing the suitcase. If he used gravity to his advantage, that is. That's right. It was the plaintiff, one Paul Letitia Wimperson, who used the suitcase. He pushed it from the 2nd floor and sent it hurtling down onto Dr. Buff, who was sitting at the coffee bar. The psychology book had been at the coffee bar, no doubt. The doctor must have set it down there after he finished reading it, or the like. But his blood got on it, which is why the killer thought to hide it in that mountain of books.
Objection!
That's quite an entertaining theory you have there, Mr. Justice. But there's no evidence that the murder took place at the coffee bar. I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Wright. I'd say that evidence of the murder occurring at the coffee bar exists. The evidence does exist, and I'm going to show you. You are? This right here is proof that the murder took place at the coffee bar.
Take that!
This brown stain was determined to be coffee. What's more, it was still a bit damp when we saw it yesterday morning. One look at this book speaks volumes, I'm afraid, Mr. Wright. It tells us the doctor was having a cup of coffee at the coffee bar. That's when the suitcase came hurtling down, striking him on the head, causing both his blood and his coffee to splatter onto it. Well, Mr. Attition Wimperson?
What motive could I possibly have had to kill Dr. Buff?
And there it is. The final excuse corner killers are so fond of. Well, the doctor never returned your crystal to you, did he? Instead, he hid it in the cave ruins. Telling him that the Defiant Dragons were a dangerous bunch was a huge blunder. All it did was make him hide the orb. Your lie came back to bite you in the end. Even worse, the doctor saw the news reports, so he knew the relic was the Founders Orb. Being the conscientious researcher he was, he knew he had to return it to its rightful place. And that meant keeping it out of your hands. You were so angry that he refused to return the relic to you. But you killed him with your own hands. Isn't that right, Mr. Attition Wimperson? Ugh.
That is...
Hold it!
Apollo. Don't. Please don't accuse my client of murder. Huh? What do you mean, don't accuse him? Why would you even say that, Mr. Wright? What I mean was, he's a promising politician with a bright future ahead of him. Isn't it in our nation's best interest to avoid burdening him with the taint of scandal? Say what?
Right, you'd better do something to change the current courtroom climate, or I'll be charged with murder. And you'll know what will happen to her if that happens.
What's he talking about? Well, I can ponder that later. For now... Mr. Wright, you can't possibly believe that Mr. Arable is the killer. Are you really going to send an innocent man to prison? I thought you were better than that. Well, Mr. Wright, answer me. Mr. Wright? What in the world's going on here? If you won't say anything, then... Mr. Attition Wimperson, the defense hereby accuses you... Hello, wait! Not you too, Athena.
It's just, I wasn't sure whether I should say anything, but during that last recess, when I went to check on Mr. Wright, I overheard something I shouldn't have.
I trust Maya is unharmed.
I can't really say, but just remember, if I'm arrested or fail to obtain the treasure, there will be consequences. Consequences of the worst kind, if you catch my drift.
Ugh.
Relax. All you have to do is ensure I get my hands on that relic. I must deliver it to my benefactor at all costs.
What do they want that relic for, anyway?
It's something to do with an old legend. My patron seeks the great power said to be granted to whoever solves its secret.
Maya? As in Maya Fey?
Yes, the boss's legendary former assistant.
Miss Fey's being held hostage?
So it seems.
Why didn't you tell me as soon as you heard this?
Sorry, it's just... Mr. Wright spotted me before I could slip away. Made me promise not to tell you. Said it would make things more difficult if he found out.
As if things weren't already hard enough. So that's why Mr. Wright was acting so strange. I had no idea. This must have been excruciating for him. Think justice. There's got to be something you can do.
Mr. Justice, about that last statement of yours. I believe you were in the middle of accusing the plaintiff of murdering Dr. Buff. Would you care to continue?
I'm sorry, Apollo. I'm really, really sorry.
What's gotten into you two?
I accuse that slime bag. I put Miss Fey's life in jeopardy.
It seems you finally caught on. I'm far too important to be accused of murder. After all,
Our nation's future rests squarely on my shoulders.
Either I give up or...
Once I present the crystal to my patron, my victory is assured. Then one day I'll become president, and then king. I'll have every politician at my command. Now retract your accusation.
Ugh, I can't kowtow to him, but... The defense would... I would like to retract the previous accusation.
Apollo.
Dirk?
I don't know what's going on here, but a lawyer should never look the way you do right now. With defeat and resignation written all over your face.
A dragon never yields.
Even when wounded, the dragon bites down hard and never lets go until its dying breath. It glares, it roars, and it latches its jaws firmly onto its prey till the bitter end. That's what lawyers do to get to the truth.
Dirk. Dragon never yields. He's right. It's all over if I give up now. Mr. Wright's hands are tied. It's up to me to do what must be done. He's saved my neck so many times. Now, it's my turn to save his. Dirk, thanks for that wake-up call.
Now that's the face of a lawyer you've got there, son.
Where there's a will, there's a way. I'm going to find a way to save Miss Faye, and see that justice is served. That scumbag is holding Miss Faye hostage to ensure he gets the orb for his patron. And it seems said patron believes in the orb's legend. Thing is, the founder did appear when the orb was exposed to fire, and just as the legend said, the legend is true, then we've already solved the riddle, right? No, not yet. The legend says the founder will bestow great spiritual power when she returns. If that's true, it means we haven't solved the whole riddle yet. How can that be? Are we missing something? Or maybe the part about the founder returning should be taken literally. How would it be possible for a dead person to return to the world of the living? Why not? There is a way for the dead to return. Spirit channeling. Of course, you'd have to know what the founder looks like first. The orb has revealed her face to us, so what if it's a sign that we should channel her? Given the facts, in order to solve the riddle and receive the founder's power, I'd need a spirit medium. The ability of a medium to channel spirits is the final key to unlocking the orb's secret. That means Mr. Etition Wimperson's patron will need one too. Once that slimy politician realizes that, he won't be able to lay a finger on Miss Faye. Everything's going to be okay, Mr. Wright. Because Mr. Politician Wimperson can't afford to harm a hair on Miss Faye's head. Huh? Mr. Etition Wimperson, It seems you've chosen the wrong person to take hostage.
What do you mean?
Your patron seeks to solve the orb's riddle, and thereby receive great spiritual power. However, only Maya Fey can truly give them what they really want. She can?
What do you mean, only Maya Fey?
Think about what the return of the Founder really means. We should have considered it more literally. After all, the orb was made in the kingdom of Karain, the birthplace of spirit mediums. Ah, I think I see now. You need to know what the deceased looks like in order to channel them. But in Kuranism, depicting the face of the Founder is taboo. However, her true face was hidden in the orb. So maybe the orb is telling us to try channeling the Founder. Exactly. Through a spirit medium, the Founder can quite literally return. And if the legend is true, the Founder just might bestow spiritual power on someone when she does. It's like when Pearls imbued my Magatama with spiritual power. If a human could be imbued with such power in a similar manner.
It is said that the Founder possesses immense spiritual powers. Such a great feat would not necessarily be beyond her. Wait a second. Then the legend is true?
Do you understand now, Mr. Atisham Wimperson? You are holding hostage the final key to unlocking the orb's secret. And if anything were to happen to her, the riddle would remain unsolved forever.
Ah! There's always Palpay. I could simply ask her to help. If she wants money, I have plenty to offer.
She's not the kind of person to be tempted by material gain. And she certainly wouldn't help you if anything were to happen to her cousin. Or maybe you'd like to go ask the Queen of Karain to channel the Founder for you. You could, but he'd probably get executed for requesting such a thing. It's over. Now confess. You killed Dr. Buff, didn't you?
It wasn't supposed to end this way.
Mr. Atisham Wimperson, are you admitting to committing the crime?
You're my lawyer, right? Do something.
It's true that I'm your lawyer, and as such it's my job to defend you. However, defending my client isn't the only duty a lawyer has. There's something else that's equally as important. And that is finding the truth.
What?
Mr. Atisham Wimperson, you have sought to twist the truth in the dirtiest of ways. I was complicit in your hostage-taking. But in a way, I was being held hostage too. Even so, there's still hope for me to make things right. And I owe it all to you, Apollo. Mr. Wright. Can't allow a murderer to walk away scot-free. Therefore, Mr. Atisham Wimperson, I must resign as your attorney.
No! Does this mean I'm under arrest? No!
Well,
I have nothing to confess.
what?
I said I have nothing to confess. I don't and I won't, especially not to a plebeian like you.
This guy doesn't know when to give up.
Besides, there's no truth to these allegations. I mean, look at the suitcase. You won't find a single print of mine on it.
All that means is you wipe them off, taking care to only leave Mr. Arables.
As many a great politician said before me, no comment.
In that case, try switching things up, Apollo. Look at the situation from a different angle. Is there really nothing that points to the suitcase being dropped from up above? Evidence that points to the suitcase being dropped from the second floor. The killer pushed the suitcase from the second floor hallway over to the coffee bar. That would place him right around here. Maybe, just maybe. Thought of something, Apollo? I believe this piece of evidence to be connected to the dropping of the suitcase.
That appears to be a statement, but how is that related to this case?
On the night of the murder, Your Honour, Miss Armybuff physically left her room. That's when she saw the doctor burning the orb and subsequently passed out. Right above the coffee bar. But with her there in a wheelchair, the killer wouldn't have been able to drop the suitcase down onto the doctor. Good point. However, according to Sarge, she woke up just as someone was trying to move her in her wheelchair. Ah.
Someone was pushing my wheelchair.
What?
I was so scared, I made a hasty retreat, as fast as my wheels could take me.
She must have been in the killer's way and had to be moved. Isn't that right, Mr. Etition Wimperson? And if the killer had pushed the wheelchair with his bare hands, we may yet find the conclusive evidence we need. Exactly. Fortunately for us, that evidence slipped right through the killer's fingers. If only he'd been able to hold onto it just a little tighter. But now he is neither able to discard nor alter it. Honestly, that piece of evidence wasn't even supposed to be here in this courtroom today. And yet, it looks like sometimes things do get better.
But this wasn't supposed to happen.
No. Well, too bad, because the evidence that sped away from you that night, has come back to haunt you, right here at this very trial.
No! No!
Your Honour, the defence's final piece of evidence is on this person.
That's...
On the night of the murder, Sarge passed out, only to come to and find that someone was pushing her wheelchair. And that's when she fled back into her room. She didn't physically see a single soul after that. Not until Athena drew her out, through that therapy session, that is. Well, the killer was able to wipe the prints on the suitcase. The same can't be said for the prints that got away.
my fellow Corinians.
Well, Mr. Politician Wimperson, try to explain your way out of this one. The podium is all yours.
Politician, Saviour Crane. I'm not a crook. My political career, it can't end like this. I'm destined for great things. Something's wrong. This isn't real. It's a dream, no nightmare. Ooh. Huh? What? Wait, really? Huh. Ah. What? No way. Bonsai, 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 bonsai. Wait, what? No, please. Wait, don't go. No, no, please. Whoa, Grandpa!
Mr. Attention Wimpleson, are you all right? Bailiff, get him to the first aid station on the double. Well, this was yet another unexpected turn of events. In light of everything that's been revealed, it seems the relic is indeed the Founders Orb. And it seems Mr. Paul Attention Wimpleson can be considered a suspect in Dr. Buff's murder.
Apollo, I want to thank you for everything. Thanks to you, I didn't have to keep bending the truth. I don't know what I would have done without you. Don't mention it.
You're amazing today, Apollo.
Well, I couldn't have done it without Dirk.
A dragon never yields.
Even when wounded, a dragon bites down hard and never lets go till its dying breath. It glares, it roars, and it latches its jaws firmly onto its prey till the bitter end. That's what lawyers do to get to the truth.
Dragon never yields. Every lawyer should take that to heart.
As it seems both sides have no further objections, would Dirk Shamadi please take the stand? This court awards the orb to the defined dragons, per the stated transfer agreement. Should the Kingdom of Korean claim ownership, the matter may have to be deliberated in court all over again. I just hope, or shall I say pray, that I am not the judge presiding over that one. Indeed, a trial like that might spark an international incident. Still, there are bigger and more momentous things stir in the air.
The revolution. Dirk's really serious about this.
This court is adjourned. Nice work, son. Finally broken through the last obstacle on the road to revolution.
Revolution just doesn't seem real.
Yes, well, to think you actually defeated the Fighting Phoenix. All I can say is, that's my boy.
Oh, Mr. Wright did have his hands tied. Who knows if I'd have won if he'd been able to fight me head on.
I see. It more like you saved Mr. Wright.
Saved him.
Yeah, remember what he said? He didn't have to bend the truth anymore, and it was all thanks to you.
I don't know about that. Still, I guess it is kind of nice to be appreciated.
Mr. Dirk? Now that the Holy Mother's face has been revealed, are you going to have a spirit medium try channeling her? I for one would love to see the return of the legendary founder.
Yeah, just think about it. Being able to speak to someone right out of the history books.
Unfortunately, it's not that easy.
What? Why?
The face isn't enough. You also need the true name of the one you're attempting to channel.
Alright, I'll mention something like that.
When the Founder's true name is only known to the priestess who has been crowned queen. In short, the only living person who knows it is the current queen of Garan.
Oh, so without her help we won't be seeing the founder anytime soon.
That's no fun.
So Dirk, what will you do now?
First, I'll start by tracing the route by which the orb came into Dr. Buff's hands.
Since we now know it was Paul Letition that asked the doctor to study it, isn't he the one who stole it?
No, a political nobody like him couldn't get anywhere near the orb, let alone steal it. He must have had inside help. My money is on someone connected to the royal family.
Oh right, you said something to that effect back in the cave.
Whoever it may be, we need to expose their dirty scheme to the light of day.
Oh, I'm sure Mr. Wright has plenty of information, courtesy of his dirty client. He might be able to shed some light on this.
Private Justice? That was fine work you did at the trial today. You did your sergeant proud.
Back at you, Sarge. Took real courage to leave your room like that.
All thanks to you and Corpse on sights. With my siege defense over, I can finally sally forth. The battle's only just begun. One for me and me alone to fight. To lose your mother, and then your father. What a terrible thing to endure.
Yeah. Being wheelchair-bound doesn't help.
Private Justice? I've been thinking. It's about time I stood on my own 2 feet. After all, I no longer have Papa to coddle me.
Huh? I'm afraid I don't follow.
Take a good look, soldier. This is one small step for man, and one giant leap for me. Hold my drone for me, would you, Private Justice?
Yes, sir? What is she up to?
Whoa.
She's standing.
What's this? Sarge, you mean your legs? There.
The doctor told me I was ready to walk again months ago. But if I admitted I could walk, I knew I'd have to leave the house. So I faked it.
Makes sense, but...
I kept pretending I couldn't walk. But I knew Papa is watching over me now, and I'd hate to disappoint him. So, from this day forth, I'm going to march forward on my own 2 feet.
I'm a brave kid, trying to move forward like this. It must be so hard this soon after her father's death.
Don't you ever stop. You just keep on walking, comrade. Stay brave, because there will be days when you'll want to stop. But I have faith you'll find a way to muster the strength to push through them.
Yeah, you can do it.
Hey, Daddy's back.
Mr. Wright? What's that look on his face for? Oh, Apollo. Is everything alright with Miss Faye? She's safe, for now.
Well then, we better go save her quick. Where is she anyway?
I'm afraid I have some bad news. Huh? Maya's not here in the States. She's still in Karain. She's still being held hostage by the mastermind behind this whole thing. The mastermind? That's right.
Politician Wimperson was nothing more than a pawn. My true abductor is in the kingdom of Karain.
What? I don't understand. Mr. Wright, what in the world's going on over there?
But as shocking as that news was, it was only the beginning. The beginning of something big. Big enough to shake Karain to its very core. Revolution. I was being swept up in a mighty wave that nothing could stop. Of course, at the time, I had no idea what the days ahead had in store for us.
Whee! That's good. I should just be 2 more streams away from done now. Anyway, that will be all for now, and I shall be back tomorrow with more. Bye!